I wouldn't say it's an inspiring story. I would say it's more of a cautionary tale. I just immediately shit the bed. I just wasn't doing anything. The next 2 or 3 months of my life were pretty depressing. I woke up on my 2 years sober, not one congratulations post, not one person. I got 2 calls and texts that day. It's not a great path to take. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way, but that's the way that I went.
Welcome back to the Plugged In Podcast. I'm your host, Wade Mulhauser. I am super excited. Today, he's back. He's back. Our old host and very good friend of mine, technically on paper, employee number 1 of Plugged In Recovery, Eric Para is in the house. Let's give a big round of applause for Eric. Yeah. Welcome back, Eric.
Good to be here. Happy to be here.
Good to be here, dude. Well, as we update the channel, you've been doing a million projects, and let's just do a reintroduction of where you're at today, and then we'll work back with how you got there.
That's an interesting story. I feel like this time around, we had met about 5-6 years ago in recovery. Been friends since. And then in May of 2023, I came back into the rooms, and almost within a month of that happening is Plugged In came into my life. And so pretty much this entire almost 3 years of sobriety this time around has been just closely intertwined with Plugged In one way or another. So it's just been a big part of my my personal life, as well as the professional life. But I wouldn't say it's an inspiring story. I would say it's more of a cautionary tale. But, I'm happy to be back. And we've got a lot of cool things going on. So
A cautionary tale.
Wow, I would not recommend someone taking the exact path that I took to get to this spot right here today. A lot of ups and downs, but we're having a lot of fun, a lot of exciting things going on, and just happy to be a part of it.
So. I love that you're a part of it, man. I love what you're doing. Plugged In Recovery would not be Plugged In Recovery without Eric Para, and I think your fingerprint is on just about every aspect of this business, which is super awesome. Which kind of leads me into your role. What is your current role at Plugged In Recovery?
The official title is Director X. I get to work closely with our CXO, Scott. We call ourselves the X-Force. Shout out X-Force. Absolutely love it. What is the X department? It begs the question, because really it isn't one specific thing. You can't contain an X department within one certain area or discipline, which is why you have the need to create it. I work. Like you said, I have a small part in a lot of the different facets of what we do here. And it's not easy to really explain, but I always have things to do.
Which is awesome. I love seeing your whiteboard. I personally look at it as you guys are the X factor. You are what are the difference makers at Plugged In Recovery, whether it's making sure we're compliant, making sure incident reports are up to date, making sure we're building out back-end payroll and HR systems. We're dealing with CRM integrations. We're dealing with different trainings. We're dealing with, licensing on new facilities, admissions processes. I don't think there is a facet of the business, sober living, that you guys don't touch.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important because it's and I watched one of your videos you did with Scott, and you guys touch on this, but it's in the treatment industry, most people in the space are people in recovery that have been personally affected by it one way or another. And so you don't find a lot of people that are necessarily just business people. You find a lot of recovery oriented people, which is why you have a lot of programs where their programming is great. The people are great. I didn't turn my phone on silent, rookie move. But it's you find a lot of these places where it's they have great programs. They're really helping people, changing people's lives. But that's only one part of what treatment is. There's an entire back end of every company. And if you don't have good systems set into place and processes, and you're not able to fully stay in compliance with your documentation and things, that's what closes down more places than just lack of talent, right? So that's just what we focus on primarily. So it's not sexy, it's not very interesting to a lot of people, but it is necessary.
It's very necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, it can look like maintenance logs. It could look like,
Yeah. Temp logs, checking pH balances in the pool, sanitation logs, infection control training. If any of that sounds interested to you, we are taking applications. But no, it is just like the other side of the business that a lot of people don't think about, and usually you don't have to until something happens, and then you're gonna be really glad that you have it, or not so fortunate if you don't, right? So that's what we focus on primarily.
Eric's also pretty much at this point the head of Bahiso. Tell him about Bahiso a little bit.
Behiso, probably the best logo on the market, in my opinion. Just it's a third party consulting company for regulatory compliance, right? Specifically with behavioral health facilities, because that's just what we specialize in. James and myself, we're able to go into different organizations and do primarily either one of three main disciplines, either existing organizations that are currently involved in any sort of enforcements or deficiencies with Department of Health Services, Joint Commission, or any of those regulatory bodies. A lot of the time, like I'm saying, you don't necessarily think about these things until something happens. And when that does, and you have a regulatory agency that's coming down and issuing you some sorts of deficiencies, enforcements, the demand to have somebody come in and build out plans of corrections and corrective action plans, root cause analysis, and like make the corrections that you need to so that you can avoid paying more fines or keep your doors open. Second aspect would be just existing companies that want to preventatively take a look at things. Do your own internal mock audit. Have us come in and just really identify where you're falling short, where you're not in compliance, whether that's how you're filling out forms, where you're storing your forms, if you even know the form should exist or not. We find all of those gaps, put it into a report, and then we can go in and work with your organization to either create the forms. A big one right now is going digital, right? A lot of places, the problem with paper files is the longer you're open, the more paper you have. And that's just more places you have to find to put it, because you have to keep those for 7 years after the discharge of that specific patient, or just whenever the form was filled out. So we do a lot of those types of things for existing companies, even if they're not actively involved in any sort of like regulatory trouble. And then the third aspect would be if you're looking to open up a place, navigating what that process looks like from a licensing standpoint and setting you up for success, so you don't have to have us come in 2-3 years down the road, do a mock audit, and then find all of these things that need correction.
And I think that's been so important for us, is having our own internal consulting team that can, as a third party, check us, bring us through the processes, always look over our work. You are not always fan favorites of anybody, but at the end of the day, people are thanking you. And I think you do a really good job at describing it. Is there is no one more helping and no one more productive to make other people's jobs easier in the long run, as much as that short-term pain is now of having to get through it to get to the end solution.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be told they're not doing their job correctly, or like they're falling short. And unfortunately, when you're in a role like this, a lot of the time it's like, you're not going to see me every day, but if I'm pulling up unannounced, it's probably because there's something that needs to be fixed. And so you can kind of turn into that guy where it's like, oh, here he is. But realistically, when you have it internally, it's all about like, we just want to operate at the highest level that we can. And one thing that I always hate, right, is like, oh, well, other places don't do this, or like, oh, like in my experience, we never had to do this. And sometimes it's not about whether you have to do something or not, whether of like, if you do this, you'll operate at a higher level. And when you operationally, when you have systems set into place and people are well trained and they're able to handle situations from an administrative and operational standpoint, that takes their minds and like it puts them in a position to like focus on the clients more because they're not being bogged down with all of this uncertainty of how to handle situations or what to do. So in the long run, you are raising your level of care by having the correct systems put into place and training your staff better.
I love that, and it's so true. We see it on a daily basis. You know as well as I do, probably the one phrase that does not fly around this facility is I didn't do this at my last job. I didn't have to do this at my last job, or when I was at X, Y, and Z, they did it this way.
Absolutely hate it.
And we despise
I
that comment.
absolutely hate that answer. I'm like, well, that's what we do here.
Yeah.
It's like, so that we are doing this.
We will literally make up different titles for people just because we don't like how other people do things.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man.
So I mean, you've had your hand in a lot of things. Talk about how you learned to do all these things.
By doing them, honestly, is the answer. I don't have any formal education in the realm of compliance. All of the information I have from a regulatory standpoint is from reading the regulation. I think a lot of the time it's like when it comes to like BAHISO and stuff, it's like people are always like, oh, like we need to bring someone in like myself or James to do this for us. And in my head, I'm like, yes, it is a service. Yes, it is available to you. But I'm like, or you could just read it yourself. And it's like, it's the same words. It's the same regulation. It's the same law that I'm reading. You're just essentially paying me to read it and implement it for you, which is fine. That's what a consultant is. But all of my knowledge just comes from lived experience of just having to go through it. We went through a ramp up period where, in like an 8 month span, we opened like 6 houses. And so when you're scaling that rapidly, you learn a lot about the regulatory landscape and just municipalities and zoning requirements and all of the things that you have to do because that's just what it takes to actually do it. And when you accelerate the timeline like that, you make so many mistakes so quickly that you also learn how to correct those mistakes and then avoid them the next time. So at the end of that, it's like, I would go out on a limb and say we're probably one of the most efficient people to take a property to a finished sober living than most out there. And it's just because we have the experience of doing it on a very accelerated timeline. But it's all just lived experience and just firsthand knowledge.
I love that. And you have been an integral part in all those ramp up periods. And I think it's something that me and you talk about as side conversations all the time is so many people have been a part of a brand new facility, but do they actually know what it takes to open a new facility?
That's my biggest thing. It's like people always say, I helped do this or I was a part of this. And it's like startup culture this, startup culture that. But then when the rubber hits the road and you're like, we need A, B, and C done, you come to find out most people never did A, B, or C, right? It's like you can be around for the starting of a company, but it's like if you were just simply around and then once it was licensed, you just like took it from there, you didn't actually play a very big part in opening it because it takes 3 to 6 months before you even get a license to even post on Facebook. There's so much work that's done before all of that. And it's like, my biggest thing is like, you see this a lot in the industry. It's like people love to like talk about their experience and industry knowledge, but it's like, even in this short amount of time that we've been around, just by simply doing it ourselves, we've gained so much insight that we're at a level that we can offer that as a service to others and deliver results. And it's crazy to think that it's only been about 3 years. And so it's like the power of just like, if you're intuitive and like you have the work ethic and you're willing to just go in, make the mistakes and like just actually be the person doing it, in a very short time, you'll put yourself in the top percentile of like competency in licensing and compliance and all of these things because not a lot of people do.
Talk about what you think makes Plugged In different.
What makes Plugged In different? I mean, it just comes down to the people, is what I would say. Most treatment centers, operationally, there's a the variance is so nominal, right? I mean, they all follow the same rules. They all write incident reports. They all use an EMR and they put group notes in. Like from that aspect, they're all very similar. There's not a lot of differences. So the difference comes from the people, and I think Plugged In specifically, the culture alone of just like you walk around our facilities with our staff, and it's like it's just a different vibe than everywhere else, and that's the only way I can explain it. It's like I'm not passionate for treatment. I don't even think I'm that passionate for compliance. I'm passionate about Plugged In. And it's like I'm just more passionate about what we have going here. And it's like you show up to work and it's just high energy. Everybody loves being around each other. And it's like it's more of just like a family feel. And I know everyone says that, and it's more of just like a marketing term because you have to hire so many people because your turnover rate's so high. But it's like that's not what it is here. And people are always looking for opportunities to join our team, and for good reason. We really are doing things differently on that front. And just the accessibility of you as the CEO, Des being around all the time. It's like, it's got, dude, your dad.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's like Jeff and Mary. It's a whole family ordeal. And it just shows like throughout everything that we do. Even down to our houses when we do like our manager trainings and stuff. It's like everybody knows everybody on like a first name basis. And it's like they feel involved. And like even our house managers at a sober living level still know what's going on with our treatment centers and are like part of that ecosystem. No other place has that.
I love that. I love that. And I think it had to do with a big piece of even you starting, right? Like when we started doing a lot of the social media stuff that other people weren't doing.
Yeah.
Just trying our best, doing podcasts, renting out little rooms,
Yeah.
making short videos. And it's cool. And I'll tell you one thing about Eric is if Eric is a friend through and through. He's my best friend. He's a little brother. He essentially, if you have a business and Eric wants to help you, we have numerous friends where finally I'm like, Eric, I'm the one who pays you. I need you to stop helping all these people out, including my sister, who has got an amazing shout out Soda Teas, first brick and mortar location, hopefully coming soon, but she's killing it. You had a big integral piece in that. But Eric is a friend through and through. And what he does is just pours his heart into the company. I loved what you said about me, you, and Des the other night when you were just like, I'm confident us three could conquer a small country.
Yeah. I mean, that's just all it takes, man. That's just all it takes. And, and don't, you can take this however you want to take it, but I promise you it's not a shot. It's just an observation. It's like I look around the industry and treatment is just what we're in, so that's what I'm obviously talking about right now, but I guarantee you could go to any industry and you're going to find the same thing. Is like there it's actually not that difficult, and what I mean by that is like I'm not saying you don't have to work hard, but what I am saying is if you have a hunger to like learn and you put knowledge and competency as your priority and you try to become an authority in any space, you can quickly become that authority within anything. And treatment specifically, because that's what we're in, we've proven that. I mean, if you look at Wade, Desiree, Scott, right? These are all people that outside of Plugged In have never had treatment experience, yet we're scaling at a rate that no other place is matching. And it comes down to if you're willing to just work hard and if you're the right person, you can learn how to use an EMR. You can learn how to do compliance. You can learn all of these things. It's very hard to teach someone to care, and it's very hard to teach someone to just work hard.
I would agree with that. And it is cool. It's something I'm extremely proud of. I think, there's a lot of us tackling or going into the in-network space or the Medicaid space, I mean, there's some big dogs in that space that I don't think we could compete with right away, but give us some time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the out-of-network space, I don't see anybody who's willing to put in the work the way that we're willing to put in the work. And I mean, we work crazy hours. I don't think people want our hours, but we're just passionate. We're having a lot of fun, and we enjoy helping people. At the end of the day, like we just want to make as big of an impact as we can possibly make. And it's really cool to see people who just want to be a part of that. I think that's the coolest thing is how many people have come up and like wanted to partner, or even you've gone to like some of the conferences, and people come up to us and they want to be in our golfing group and whatever it is. It's like we're just gonna be high vibes, a lot of fun, but we're like putting in work.
Yeah.
And we really sort out people who don't want to work. It's
Yeah.
just we have an atmosphere here where we really like people who want to get after it.
Yeah, and you gotta love it, and it's like to touch on it, it's like when you go out to all of these like symposiums or events and all these networking things, right? It's like you get sold a lot of things, right? And everybody loves talking about what they know. But at the end of the day, it's like when you're having a conversation with someone who genuinely knows what they're talking about, it like hits different and you sense it immediately. And people gravitate to those people because it's like not only are they saying the right words, but it's like they're saying it with a conviction like they've done it before, right? Because it's very easy to just hang around, go to enough conferences, learn the buzzwords and just throw those around with, but they're very like hollow. But then when you really get into those conversations at like dinners and stuff like that, and you're able to just like break it down, and that's what people want. Like they want to work with people that truly know what they're talking about and are good at it. And if they're not, just letting you know. But it's fun, man.
And
It's a
I
good
think and
time.
we stay hungry. We stay hungry, and I think we
Yeah.
we we it can sound boastful, but I think we actually have a lot of humility as we are the first person to say we don't know how to do X, Y, and Z, and we will ask for help. And we go to the resourcefulness is the best resource. We
Hmm.
know that well. We know who we can call to figure out the answer and to learn it.
Yeah.
And not only will we want them to show us, but we'll then want to do it once with them. And then from there, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
Which
Dude, I love that. Dude, that has been a saying at Plugged In since it was like five houses. The resourcefulness is the best resource because you're not always going to know. You're not always going to have access to this or that, but you will always have the ability to either get connected with the person who knows or learn it yourself or whatever it is. But you just got to be resourceful. And again, I think the biggest thing for me is putting the emphasis on like standards and competency and like making that your goal and striving to become an authority in any space is a better use of your time than doing things with the end goal being compensation or whatever else, because it's like at the end of the day, like it's a never ending goal to continuously trying to become like the best person in whatever space that it is. And typically money actually follows the competency and the ability. So I would just make that the biggest recommendation, whether you're in the space or whatever you do, always striving to just learn more and just be the authority in anything. That's the end goal.
I absolutely love that. And then, I mean, let's just look at, did you or would you have thought 2 years ago we would be in the position that we're in right now?
I mean, no, dude. It's like 2 years ago we were running with we were putting out content just in people's conference rooms that we're renting for $30 while everyone was just like going through their work day. And now you've got a full team of these guys that are putting out some incredible stuff. I mean, but that's just like one aspect of it. But I don't know if I would have foreseen it being where it's at today because of how crazy it's been with all these opportunities that have been coming up. But I'm just happy to be a part of it, man.
So me and Eric have a thing. We scale. We do all of these awesome things. We have a lot of fun. We're here a lot of weekends. I think weekends are our quiet time, so we can get a lot of work done. Um, but we open a Skittles C4. We crack
Mm,
a special Skittles C4
yeah.
anytime that we open something or have our accomplishment that we achieve, which I think is super awesome. But let's go there. Let's go there right now.
Yeah.
Um,
That's my biggest fear, first of all. My biggest fear is that one day Wade just decides he doesn't want to expand anymore. And then my life loses all of its purpose. And I'm like, well, because it's always what's next, right? It's always what's next. And my biggest fear is that one day there'll be no what's next.
yeah,
And then I'll have to say, what's next?
yeah. I don't see that happening anytime soon. We got big plans. We got big dreams. We want to help a lot of people, and I think we're doing it the right way. You know, and I think that's the important part. Is we face adversity. I believe as good as anyone. We see adversity all the time.
Actively seek adversity,
Yeah.
I would say a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean it's something that you're going to deal with in life, and you're going to deal with in business, and you're going to deal with it in recovery. If you're in recovery, is adversity is going to happen. It's not if, it's when. And do you have the proper toolkit to take that on the chin and keep moving forward and make the adjustment? And we've made the adjustment. We've had to make the adjustment multiple times, and you get to see the beauty and the rebirth of that.
Yeah.
No different than let's talk about your short span away from plugged in
Oh,
recovery.
this is why it's a cautionary tale. I mean, I do not. It's been an interesting ride, man. Like I said, when I first got sober again this time around, within a month, I was just bumming it at one of Wade's houses. He put me up, didn't charge me rent. Shout out Wade for that. And that's like how it all like started. Was I was just hanging around the house, didn't have a job, and so it started with, hey, we need some help putting together bed frames. And then, then I'm hanging out at the apartment, and while he's like looking at Zillow and sending out 50, 60 messages a day, trying to find another house. And then it's hanging around with this. And then I remember at one point, he just tells me, hey, we have this like ASRA meeting. So I'm there, I'm sitting in the back, get nominated for a board position, had never even been to a meeting before. So he's like always just like the same amount of time I have sober this go around has been just like the synonymous with my growth with this company. So it's very, very close to me. And right around this time last year, actually, we're going to a gala this weekend, and it was exactly a year ago at this exact gala where I took one of the most depressing pictures of my life with Wade and Lindsay. And I was just thinking about that because we're going to be back tomorrow. And I was like, how grateful am I that it's a little bit different this time around going to this. But yeah, it was a little over a year ago. I just got into a place in my life where, if you're in recovery and you start doing well for yourself, a lot of people have experienced the pride and the ego that comes with that. And all of a sudden it's not, look what we did, it's look what I did. And the delusion of saying things like, this is what God's will for me is, and like this is the right decision for me, but realistically it's just somebody else is in my ear offering more money or more this or that, right? And telling me I am the one who built this place, and they would just close down tomorrow if you weren't there. And it's like all of those things, right? And that's where I was in my life, and I made an unfortunate decision to leave the company, and it was not great. It was not a great time. And it caused a lot of problems, just like in my life, man. And I didn't realize just how personal plugged in recovery was, because at that time I was just so spiteful. But immediately after I made that decision to leave, it set in very quickly. And this other place that I went to, I just immediately shit the bed. I just wasn't doing anything. My heart wasn't in it. And the next like 2 or 3 months of my life were like pretty depressing. I ended up back in sober living. I was just hiding out from everything, just completely fell off the map. And like I watched as, plugged in kept growing, and everybody, it just kept becoming what it was. And like to know that I had put so much time and energy into like that aspect of my life, and it was all gone. And it was because I'm the one who left. It was very, very dark and depressing and lonely time in my life. And it was on my 2 years sober in May. Wade's dad reached out to me. I got 2 calls or texts. I woke up on my 2 years sober, Not one congratulations post on Facebook. Not one person. I got two calls and texts that day. One call from Paul Garcia, who I was just bumming it on his couch, living rent free, because again, I wasn't working in sober living. And one from Wade's dad. And he asked if I wanted to go to lunch with him. I agreed. The very next day, I went to lunch, bawled my eyes out, and he offered me some help. And that just set off a chain of reaction that, led me to eventually coming back and now being here. But it's it's not a great path to take. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way, but that's the way that I went.
I think it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I believe that. What do we love more than anything at this company? A redemption story.
Just yeah, a nice comeback story.
There is nothing. There's nothing better than and we've seen it. We're seeing it right now. When somebody has something, then they lost it, and now that opening to get it back is there.
Mhm.
That production level is unmatched.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta love it. It is the most beautiful thing in life. Just watching somebody come back from something or just like go through adversity. It makes the best movies, it makes the best stories. And it's like when you get to see it in real life, it's like, people gravitate towards that because we all do things or like we all make mistakes. And whether or not you can find the humility to, right those wrongs and try to find some redemption is a good story to tell always. But it was tough, man, and coming back, it's been a long journey. I'm still improving every day. Still cagey about doing stuff like this because I really am just happy to be here and just grateful to be able to be working with Wade and Dez and Senior and Scott every day. And this is where I belong, and I know that now. And it's just it's been one heck of a ride.
We've been having so much fun.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for that we have coming down the pipe, or that you're doing?
I'm just excited for all the growth. I don't do well with like stagnant like repetition. So I love times like this where we have all of these things going on and it's like, you got to be here and then there. So, I mean, I'm just excited that we're in a position to keep expanding right now because like I said, and I'm not kidding, my biggest fear is that stops one day and I'm like, well, this is a lot less exciting. So I love just continuously having more things to work on.
Dude, it's a lot of fun, and I think every day we're growing. Every day we're getting a little bit better. Some days we have setbacks. Some days, personally, myself, it's we're not ever going to be perfect. That's the beauty of this whole thing. But have fun while you're doing it and be a part of the experience because that's exactly what it is it's an experience and we get to use it to help others, which I think is the coolest part of the industry that we're in is what we do directly impacts other people's lives, and then that ripple effect directly impacts other people.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advice would you give to others out there? Maybe going through a similar situation, maybe going through something where they're feeling self-righteous, justified, anything out there. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's just struggling?
The best advice that I would give to someone in that position, and it's just the biggest lesson that I learned, is you find out really, really quickly when something like that happens, like the loneliness, you find out the most important thing in your life are like the people in your life. And my advice would always be anytime you're in a situation like that where you're just so upset with what's going on or you feel like you deserve more or whatever it may be, take a step back and just focus on the people that you have in your life and like the relationships that you have because when it's all said and done, that's what you're gonna miss. You're not gonna miss the money, or you're not gonna miss all of these other things. You're gonna miss the time that you spent with the people that you love doing what you love to do, right? And so that would be my biggest piece of advice: is just always focus on the people, pour into the relationships in your life, And, it's what, be a bridge builder, not a bridge burner. Trust me, I've burned a lot of bridges. I much prefer having built bridges. It
You're a
makes
bridge guy.
gives you a lot more options. But yeah, and just don't underestimate how incredible it is to, if you ever get an opportunity to build something with your friends and to be a part of opening up a place or just like being a part of like a startup at any one of its stages. It is an incredible journey. And I was thinking about this the other night, but it's like, 3 4 5 years from now, whatever it may be, it's like we'll look back on these Saturdays in the office, or like, just like, brainstorming things, all of those very normal moments in the day to day. Like those are what become like the good old days. I mean, even look back to what, 2 3 years ago, it's like just sitting in the apartment, filing through Zillow, like whatever it may be. It's like it seems so distant now, but it wasn't that long ago. And it's like those moments, we're creating them in real time always, and it's like that's what you're really gonna miss, when shit hits the fan and you end up alone, is the people.
I love that. I love that, man. And I'm so happy that, you did decide to come back. I'm so happy that I get to build this company with my best friends. I think you're right. The people are the difference maker. And like you said, it's such an easy term to say our people are different, but I think it's the experience that we offer. It is the experience that you are with your friends. It's the experience that you are, building together, that you're dreaming together, that the vision becomes super clear as a unit, not just as one. We have Mosaic Minds that's opened up. We have a new Biltmore location that's opened up. We have Revive that's taken off. We have a big project in the pipeline that is probably days, if not weeks, away. Probably days by the time that this comes out, away from opening. And it's an exciting time to say, like, do you remember when we did that? Do you remember when we sat in the apartment? Do you remember when we went to that place in Gilbert and had a whiteboard? And I looked at that
Yeah,
whiteboard, dude.
yeah. The what was
I don't care. It like the
it was
press
like a
coffee or
coffee
something. It was
shop or
press
something.
coffee or
Yeah,
something. But there's like a
you rent out the conference room
yeah.
by the hour.
I look at that whiteboard, man, and it's like everything that we had on there is like goals and stages is like we have by far surpassed at this point. And those were like 3 and 5 year goals.
Yeah.
And in like a year's time, we've checked off all of those boxes. And it's like that is the coolest thing for me to see is like Dez is basically taking off an hour at the bank to run over to
Yeah.
this coffee shop
Yeah.
so we can draw on a whiteboard and like have a plan of attack. And we're just piecemealing things together. And Adam knows, he's in the room. Anytime you're a part of that startup culture where you're just like with your friends, you have whiteboards out, you have the late night sessions, the juices are flowing. Like sometimes it's tiring, sometimes it's exhausting, but it is literally the best experience of your entire life. And you will look back at that and just be like, gosh, do you remember doing that? It was
Yeah.
so awesome. And when you see you're just smashing goals with the homies,
Yeah.
there is nothing better than that.
Literally nothing better. And it's just like, what else would you rather be doing right now?
Clocking out, banker hours.
Yeah.
Banker hours.
Yeah.
No, man, I love that you came back on. We're gonna have you back on some more, so get used to it. Get used to this face again. Lindy will be back. Part of the girl squad will be back.
There you go.
We can have her on. So no, we got a bunch of exciting things coming up. If you have questions, if you have concerns, emotional outbursts, comment on this post. Shoot us a private message. If you or a loved one is struggling, you do not have to do it alone. Plugged in Recovery, Mosaic Minds, Revive Recovery. We are here for you. We would love to get you in contact. If we can't help you, we definitely know someone who can. Reach out for help today.